sort of a move fast and break things culture where I think this is going to happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are other situations like this. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Imported Podcast. I've got a solo episode for you today. It's been quite a while since I've done a solo episode, but there are just some things I guess I wanted to talk to you guys about, catch up on, so I decided today's a perfect day for a solo episode on the Imported Podcast. You'll notice I'm wearing a hat. This is the first ever imported hat. It just came in the mail the other day, and I'm super excited about it. Was waiting for a long time for it. And I can't take it off. I love it. This logo means a lot to me, actually. It's basically supposed to represent a globe and a football. If you look at it, sort of abstract that. You've got the globe figure, and then you've got the football figure in the middle of it there. And then it also represents sort of the interconnection of passions and interests. So the cross-pollination of worlds. And so, the logo means a lot to me, and that's sort of what it represents. That's the Imported Podcast hat. They are here. Have got a few available right now. I'm going to do a big, public imported merch drop that I'll promote on the Nalf channel pretty soon here. But for now, this is a much smaller audience, so you guys kind of have a sneak early access if you would like to get one of these imported hats before they're publicly or much more widely promoted. Then go ahead and grab them. There's a few available in the link below. So yeah, you can do that. But got some topics that I wanted to speak with you guys about. I went home last week to the States. It was pretty spontaneous. It was for a family thing. And now I'm back. I got back 2 days ago, kind of fighting the jet lag a little bit. But while I was home, I hung out with family and did a bunch of family stuff. But each evening, we watched the new documentary series, the show on Netflix called Quarterback. This new documentary series about 3 NFL quarterbacks. First of all, what I can say is if you haven't watched it, I can definitely recommend it to you, whether you are a football fan or not a football fan. I think this series is actually super important in the expansion and popularity of American football worldwide, because Netflix, is the most popular streaming platform globally. I don't even know how many hundreds of millions of users they have, but most of those users are actually outside the United States. And so people all around the world now were given access to this really cool documentary series that gives such a cool and important insight to the most important position in the sport of American football. Excuse me. So basically, the show follows 3 different quarterbacks sort of at 3 different levels of their football careers in the NFL. You've got Marcus Mariota, you've got Kirk Cousins, and you've got Patrick Mahomes. I guess I should say the teams. Mariota is playing for the Atlanta Falcons, Kirk Cousins for the Minnesota Vikings, Patrick Mahomes, probably the most famous of them all, for the Kansas City Chiefs. So it follows these quarterbacks, and it was actually produced by NFL legend Peyton Manning. And I watched him do a few interviews about it. Peyton Manning, of course, played for so long and is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Very charismatic, kind of funny guy. So it was only natural that he got into entertainment and show business. Him and his brother broadcast the Monday night or commentate the Monday Night Football broadcast. So really kind of multi-talented guy there, Peyton Manning, and I listened to him speaking about trying to get the show made and greenlit by Netflix and trying to get access to these quarterbacks, to these guys, because having a documentary made about you is no joke. It's, you could call it a major invasion of your privacy, and when you watch the show, you'll see some of that. There's very personal, intimate moments in the show. So Peyton Manning talked a little bit about, trying to get these quarterbacks to approve the documentary crew to make the show about them. It was just interesting to hear him talking about that, also how difficult it was for him, Peyton Manning, one of the biggest football superstars ever, to get a show greenlit by a streaming platform. Because I've been in this world, starting with the Unicorn Town stuff and dealing with streamers and platforms and trying to get shows off the ground and seeing how difficult that world is. And I think, oh, well, it's just because I'm some no-name guy. They have no idea who I am. But seeing that even someone so big like Peyton Manning really struggled and had to call so often and just get rejected so often was interesting to hear. And it's strange to me because that seems like such a no-brainer knockout show. You'd think everybody would from the get-go be so down and so willing to approve this or work on it. But yeah, so that was just interesting for me to hear, basically from the filmmaking, producing side of things. But yeah, back to the show. Like I said, they follow the three different quarterbacks who are three different levels. Marcus Mariota is at sort of the low end of starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Kirk Cousins is sort of in the mid-range to upper mid-range, and Patrick Mahomes is what most people would say the best quarterback in the NFL. And you get a real intimate look at their preparation for the sport as follows them through the 2022 season. You get a look at their preparation, kind of their personalities off the field. I think the most interesting point for me was seeing Patrick Mahomes' personality a little bit more, because I feel when we see him speaking very often at like press conferences or interviews, he's very, very polished, very kind of sophisticated in what he says. He always says the right things. He's great at the podium, as they say. But then you see him mic'd up for the whole season and get all these behind the scenes of him. You see he's really got this crazy fire where in games he's screaming constantly. He's talking shit constantly. He's always going. He's really fiery, and he's not this sophisticated, polished guy. He's like a hardcore competitor that talks a lot of shit. And it was just really cool and interesting to see that side of him. Because, I mean, I think to play at that level, you need that in some regards. And I'd never seen that before. So I thought that was cool that the doc series showed. And then just showing the guys like with their families and juggling this incredibly difficult, the most difficult position in sports, I would say, playing it at the highest level. So, yeah, it was really cool. But for me, what I think is the coolest is just basically how much this exposes the global population to American football and to the NFL. This is such, I feel like we're hitting such a wave of football growing in Europe and even globally. I like to focus on Europe because that's kind of where my experience is, but I think it's kind of growing globally as well. We have football games in Mexico, and so it's not just here. But it's like we've got the European League of Football that's really popped up here. There have been football games in London, and now there was the one in Germany last year. They do this documentary series internationally for international audiences to see. And I think this wave is really picking up of football being expanded globally, which is really what I love to see that. I kind of say that that's like one of my missions right now is to help expand football globally. That's something I would really like to see. I would like to see what I would describe as America's greatest export. All right, that might be, a little extreme. One might say the iPhone is up there, or we export a lot of good stuff. But I'm going to say, for my purposes, America's greatest export to the world is this sport, American football. And to see it being exported more and more and expanding more and more excites me. I like it a lot, and I'm super excited to see where it continues to go. I mean, we had the one game in Germany last year, NFL game. We've got two in Germany this year. Really cool. And the demand for those tickets, the tickets went on sale a couple weeks ago, and people were posting on like Twitter and Insta Story how they got in the queue to try and get tickets for these Frankfurt games. And it's like, you are behind 1.8 million people. Big demand here for these games in Europe. So I really like to see that happening. What else do I want to say about the show? Kirk Cousins, I think he's such a it's cool seeing him. He's such a kind of dorky, nice guy. Seems like such a really, really good person, I would say. But I would describe him as quite dorky. I think he would probably describe himself that way. But I think I really admired him, kind of his attitude, his approach. He's not cocky at all. Seems to be quite a hard worker and just a good guy. And I like the way that he was with his family. So yeah, it was cool to see that. So that's Quarterback on Netflix. I would definitely recommend it to you if you haven't checked it out. It's just 8 episodes. They're 50 minutes to an hour or so. Pretty easy watch and cool, whether you are a crazy football fan or whether you're just a little bit curious, all right, what is playing in the NFL look like? What is it like for these guys playing in America? So I would recommend that. Now, across the pond to Europe, the European League of Football. There's a lot of stuff going on in the ELF right now. I would say most notably a team folded, the Leipzig Kings. I think they basically had the financial issues to the point of insolvency, and the organization is bankrupt. The ownership group couldn't come to a solution, and so the team has dropped out of the league. Now this comes after the Istanbul team previously a few months ago dropped out of the league, and I think that this is kind of the nature of what I would describe as kind of like a startup culture. Kind of feels like it's a sort of a move fast and break things culture where I think this is going to happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are other situations like this. I think that when you're starting something new, not everything is going to survive. And it's unfortunate for the people that are involved in that organization, for the city of Leipzig, for the fans of that team. That really sucks. For the players, of course, as well. That's tough, especially for guys who move to Leipzig to go join this team. Luckily, though, the ELF has, of course, which is, I would be shocked if they didn't, they're allowing the Leipzig players now to transfer to other teams. And so you're seeing the Leipzig Kings guys kind of scatter throughout the league. A few guys are going to, I think a few went to Berlin, a few to the Panthers in Poland. I can never know how to say that name, Robslaw. And a few scattered here and there. 3 went to the Surge, including the quarterback who I played against in the GFL last year. He played for Allgäu, really good player, really strong dual threat quarterback. So he's headed to the Surge. But yeah, kind of that's kind of the big story in the ELF right now is that team dropping out. And so is that the Eastern Conference now, right? That Eastern Conference has lost Leipzig and Istanbul. So the conference has gone from 6 teams to 4, whereas the other 2 conferences are still remaining at 6 teams. So some teams are going to really benefit from getting some of these players. I think a lot of people are wondering where a top big name player like AJ Wentland is going. I believe that he's going to go to Poland. Seems like that's where he's headed. That's probably, it's not too far from Leipzig, I guess, when you take everything into account. So that's really what's been going on. But like I said, the American quarterback from Leipzig, Allen, I believe that's his last name, Allen? Kenny Allen? Let me double check. Sorry, bro, if I said your name wrong, because I'm sure I'm going to meet you on Sunday at the game. Hopefully you don't watch this and call me out for not remembering your name, but it is possible. Kenyatt Allen. Oh, we got a bug here. All right, so he is now coming to the Surge after Jan Weinreich, the homegrown German guy who I did a ELF podcast with last week. Great podcast, really great guy. He played in a few games for the Surge. So Jan played in 3 games for the Surge, played very well and won 2 of them. Now, this last week, the team went down to Switzerland to play the Guards, play against old boy Silas Nasita, my old buddy, and the Guards. And the Guards actually handed the Surge their first loss, which shocked people across the league. And unfortunately, Jan did not have a great day statistically, throwing a lot of interceptions. I think it ended up being 5 picks. And the unfortunate situation about this is, the Surge knew when they signed Jan that he was sort of a temporary fix until maybe we got a different quarterback, and that Jan could actually himself, with his personal life, could only play for the Surge for X amount of weeks. And it just so happens now that the new A quarterback comes this week right after Jan had a really tough game. So it sucks that he has to leave after that game. I feel for him, especially after playing so well in the first 2 games and then just having a rough day. And then now you got it. That's the end of your stint with the team right now. And so that sucks, because I know also that like the coaching staff would like to have probably given him another game to kind of go out on a higher point, on a higher foot. But yeah, sometimes that's just the way it goes. This league, man, it's got like the ruthlessness, I don't know if that's the right word, of the NFL. I mean, it is a business. All of these teams are businesses, and guys are shuffled around all the time, signings, releasings, and it is the real deal when it comes to the business side of things. And it's tough, because I think in the NFL, they make so much money. They make so much money in the NFL that you almost say, okay, the ruthlessness is worth it. A guy moves all the way across the country to play for a team for a couple weeks, and then he's cut and he has to move again. But, hey, he made hundreds of thousands of dollars in the process. Whereas at the point where the football in Europe is right now, guys aren't making that kind of money. And so there's this kind of cutthroat ruthlessness without these life-changing salaries. And so that's kind of the hard thing for players who are being imports in this situation. So you feel for some guys in that situation. There's a couple that I know that, basically get released, and it just sucks, man. It just sucks. But yeah, this league and these teams are professional businesses, and that's just kind of the way it has to go. So that's kind of what's going on. Now that the Surge lost, which was, I think, like I said, quite unexpected for a lot of people. I mean, the Guards have turned it around. They've won 2 in a row. They got that new quarterback. They got a couple new players, and they're really looking like a different team. So we'll see where they head. But that leaves us with just 2 undefeated teams, Rhein Fire and the Vienna Vikings. These are the 2 teams undefeated left in the league this season. I mean, some of the, like Rhein Fire are looking crazy. Jadrian and I did a ELF podcast the other week as well. You can check that out. He's just absolutely murdering it. What does he have? He has like 33 touchdowns. It's insane. And I think a lot of the things that I'm hearing is that coach Weidinger is sort of a wizard with offenses. He gets his quarterback and his receivers in elite positioning and gets them in position to have success. And Jadrian and the Fire are really capitalizing on that. My old teammate Roby is also up there. Actually, sadly, he's injured, and they brought over a new wide receiver, I think from Montana State, a new A receiver. And so that guy, I believe, is playing in place of Roby. And this is just like the situation that I talked about. I don't know the nature of Roby's injury, or if he's on IR, or if he's getting replaced, but that's kind of the nature of the ELF, is get a new one. Whereas in my day, when I played in the GFL, and if you guys have seen Unicorn Town, I got hurt, broken collarbone, and because it was club football, there was not really a need to send me home and get a new guy. It was a little more lenient, a little more, lenient, and it wasn't a cutthroat, ruthless business. I was able to stay and I was able to have this experience. But I can't imagine having kind of the fear of, okay, I'm hurt, okay, I'm gone. So that's kind of scary. But yeah, Ryan Fire and Vikings, they're up there, man. I'm really enjoying watching the league. Of course, there are some lower end teams that get blown out. But I think for the most part, there's a lot of good competition. And there's a lot of games that are exciting to watch and teams that are exciting to watch. I feel like there's like 12 or 13 teams that this is legit football. This is what football in Europe has the potential to be. So that's quite exciting. And we'll see as the playoffs get near here who ends up making the playoffs. But yeah, it's been quite exciting so far in the European League of Football. So I believe I don't know if I mentioned it on here before or not, but I've been developing an app with my brother for about a year now, and it takes up a lot of time and energy and work. But I really like it, and we're getting close. Like we're in the testing phase right now, and we've got about 40 or 50 people testing on it, and we're working out the bugs and stuff. But I'm really excited about that. But it's so crazy how much work it is, and how you'll have one tiny little thing that's messed up that kind of destroys the whole experience. And so you have to really have attention to detail with this, and working with the developer. It's been such a interesting, new, unique situation, but it's cool. I feel like I've been able to take things I learned in filmmaking and kind of the always thinking about having the audience and the audience's experience in mind, and put that into kind of the experience of the app. But I'll keep you guys updated on there. I'll actually probably, once we'll expand out to like a larger testing round kind of soon. And there, I would like to get some of you guys on there, whoever's interested in it. Right now, it's just on iPhone. Sorry, Android users. iOS only. We were advised to only start off on iOS because commercially, an Android user is worth 10% of what an iOS user is worth. That just means, I guess, Android users are much less susceptible to consumerism. So that's a good positive. But yeah, for now, it's just on Apple, and at some point we'll expand out. But yeah, that's like an update. I've been spending a lot of time on that, and it's taken up a big portion of my mental bandwidth, but kind of rewarding, and I'm pretty excited about it. I'm trying to stay kind of realistic and not get too excited about it, but it's moving along well. People seem to like it. People are having fun on it, and we're plugging away. We're plugging along there. So I'm doing a lot of things right now. I've got this podcast, the Nalf YouTube channel, the ELF podcast, marketing stuff for the Surge. I've got this other documentary series is being made about the Surge that I am helping with, that I am aiding with. It'll be for German TV. And so I'm helping a lot with that too. So I feel like I've never been busier. But I'm doing a lot of things that I really like to do. And it's fun to be able to have my work week and be like, all right, today I'm working on a Nalf video. Today I'm working on my app stuff. Today I'm working on podcast episodes. Today I'm working on stuff for the Surge. And today I'm working on something else. So it's kind of fun to rotate all of the things that I'm working on. And it's a cool experience, and it's cool. Like I said, I like the idea of kind of cross-pollinating between different things, because when you work on one thing, you get ideas and ways of thinking that maybe you wouldn't have come up with if you're only working on one project and you're only thinking one type of way. Because basically when I change projects, I have to think in a different way. I have to look at things from a different perspective. And so almost every day I'm kind of looking at things from a different perspective. And then that gives me the ability to kind of, when I return to a thing the following Monday or the following week, I can see it a little differently because I've been exposed to different perspectives by working on different things. I'm not sure if what I just said there makes too much sense, but it's kind of a benefit for sort of working across a broad spectrum of stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Yeah, guys. So that's basically it. Short little update here on the Imported Podcast. If you have any guest recommendations for this podcast that you would like to see on here, feel free to leave them in the comments. I've got a couple guests lined up that we'll be doing here soon. But if you guys have any in particular that you would really like to see here sitting on this couch doing the Imported Podcast with me, feel free to let me know, and I'll see if I can't get them in here. All right, guys, that's going to be all from Imported, and maybe I'll see you on Sunday at Gazi Stadion for the Surge game in Stuttgart. Have a good one, guys.